What is up, Bleach fans? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk, and today I'm here with a very special guest. Here is a voice actress who is best known to anime fans as Yachiro Kasuchiji from Bleach, but has also played in a variety of anime and cartoons from Mon Colle Knights to Rurouni Kenshin, and has also been the announcer for the Annie Awards, the only award show dedicated to animation. Please welcome Dina Sherman.
Hi, Simon.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good.
That's absolutely fantastic. And of course, today here in Australia, for anybody that doesn't know, is Thursday 9:30 a.m. and it's a beautiful sunny day out here. And not and of course, it must be as I think Wednesday 4:30 p.m. in Los Angeles.
Yes, it is, and it's a gorgeous day here too.
Excellent.
It's one of the pretty ones.
I can imagine because it's supposed to be you're meant to be in spring, or is it summertime up there right now?
We're in spring. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Right, right. Well, getting on to the first question, I gotta ask a lot is how did you get started in acting?
Oh, well, if I could take a minute, just
Sure.
to go back a second, it's Yashiru Kusajishi is
Aha.
the
Yep.
character. I know, super hard. I had to learn how to say it. And it's the Annie Awards, the awards for animation.
Mm.
And the other is Mon Colle Knights. That was the other one. It was they're hard to pronounce because they're spelled weird. And Mon Colle Knights was a series, and I played Gluko, which is my favorite. But how I got started, um, so I was thinking about this, and way back in high school, I was on the speech and debate team, and I competed in what was called the category of humorous and or dramatic interpretation. And it's where you took 10 minutes of a published piece and you presented it, not quite on stage or something, but in front of the group, and you competed. And one of the ones I did for humorous was, oh gosh, I just totally, it just blanked. The dramatic one was Anne Frank, and the humorous one was, oh gosh, I just blanked on the name of it. But I did like five characters from it. And it had Cary Grant, um, Elderberry White. Oh gosh, I just totally forgot. I just blanked. I'll come back to it. But
That's
I
all right.
competed doing all these characters, and all these different voices for all these different plays. And I actually won. I would go to state and nationals competing with these different pieces. And I went to UCLA and I decided to be a communications major and worked in the entertainment business behind the scenes. And then I got a chance to SAG card on a film. And one time during a casting director workshop, this big time casting director said in front of the whole class, Dina, call me at home, or call me at this, call me at the office tomorrow. It is, big time casting, place. And I was like, okay. And everyone was like looking at me with all jealousy and envy. And I was like, and I called and he was like, yeah, you've got a great voice. I want you to call my friend Jeff at ICM. And I called ICM and they signed me. And that's how I started in voiceover.
Wow.
Long
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic there. And so, who or what inspired you to go into acting, and who would you consider to be your biggest influences?
You know, I, I, I think what inspired me to go into acting was just um, enjoying the feeling of doing the humorous and dramatic interpret. And then in college, I did theater work and then working on films and TV. I really love performing and I love characters and I love character actors and improv. Improv is like, I still do improv. I still have improv classes I go to. I still perform on stage occasionally. I love improv and creating characters. Um, fun, unique, real characters. And so it really was just not a person necessarily,
Hmm.
but oh goodness, um, but the industry, just being able to play
Mm-hmm.
and putting on the different uh, skins of these people and getting to do them.
Right. Fantastic. Now, going into like a lot of the anime work that you've done, one one thing wondering about is that for some voice actors that have voiced across an anime, they have the manga that's based on the anime. It's that the anime is based on itself. Have you ever read the manga for whether it was for an anime you've worked on or not?
So interestingly enough, I was in Japan and I went to some of the stores and I asked for Bleach and Mon Colle Knights and some of the shows that I was working on to see the manga in Japanese. Um,
Wow.
so I could look at the pictures. I don't read Japanese. Um, um, Arigato gozaimasu. I can say words, but I can't speak the language at all. So it was just really interesting to see the characters and to see it in Japanese, and the writing goes down the sides. It's just different.
I,
So that was really kind of fun.
I would imagine that. But did you get it like a translator to help you translate some of the lines from the manga?
No. I have to say, against popular views, they don't speak English in Japan.
Ah.
Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, they, anybody can help you," and no, no, no. Sumimasen, you excuse me, and then I point to pictures or I point to sentences previously written out in Japanese to be helped. No, no.
Well, maybe they may have some English written ones somewhere. Maybe.
Oh, they do here. They are translated here, but I really haven't read them. No.
Well, this actually reminds me a lot of which I'm pretty sure you know to like Bleach, and especially to a lot of manga fans out there, with the way that the anime had ended the series compared to in the manga, which had one more story arc, which you can kind of say was like the definitive ending to the series in and of itself. And a lot of fans have been asking for years if they were going to do an adaptation of the last chapter in the manga. But we'll come to that a little bit later on. But with all the roles that you've done, have all the roles that you've done and currently do, have they always been audition based?
For the most part, yes.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, when I first started, I went in to the agency or went into the casting studios, wherever it was, and auditioned. Um, and now everything is done remote. I have my home studio,
Hmm.
and we're just sent the scripts, and we have to guess what's in their mind for the character and send it back and hope. It's very, very different now than it was when I started. It's a lot easier. I don't have to drive all over town in traffic and everywhere. It was crazy, but it also means I'm competing against people around the world for the same job. So it's highly competitive. Um, Back when I was doing the anime in the heyday of when anime was really big and a lot of that stuff, um, I kind of had, I guess I was part of a group of, people with reputations that we were just kind of all, oh, you're on this one here, come over and work on this one, and maybe you could do this one for us. And so I don't remember a lot of them because we would go and then we'd end up go to another place and go to another place, and we were just recording um, episodes.
Mm.
And I didn't always know what the titles were.
Right. Okay.
It's crazy. They had if it was union, it had a very small amount that they paid you, and they had you for 2 hours. So you did 2 hours here, and then you'd go 2 hours there, and the next day you do 2 hours somewhere. I mean, the best was, Digimon.
Hmm.
Uh, Being on that series was really a lot of fun. My favorite session was a whole group of us were called in. I mean, we were all there doing. You record by yourself, and we were all doing like at different times. Our scripts or whatever, and then they had us all come in one day about the same time, and I'll go into the booth as a group and do a lot of the walla, the filler sounds.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if you know what walla and ADR. Are you
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So walla and ADR are kind of very similar. ADR is audio dialogue replacement,
Mm.
which kind of is what anime is. We are recording over previously recorded dialogue, which was the Japanese version. Or I've done stuff that was the Russian version or the German version, but it's your audio, replacing dialogue. That's ADR,
Hmm.
and then walla is when you go in and you do all the background voices. Um, in a feature film or in a TV show, none of the background actors talk because they have to get clear recordings of the main actors. But yet, when you see it on TV or you see it in the movies, you hear all these people in the bar, the people in the restaurant. You hear people talking, or shouting if it's in the stadium. That's walla. That's a group of people that come in later to add that, and I do that a lot. But on this particular episode of for Digimon, the series, we had to come in and do a bunch of the creature noises to fill in, the creatures fighting and the creatures in the arenas, and we basically called the whole session the burp and fart session because all the different creature noises we were doing came out basically sounding like you know, oh yeah, like burps and farts. We were dying of laughter. It was. I mean, I call it one of those side achers. When your stomach, your side aches from laughing so hard.
Mm. That's fantastic.
Question again.
No, that's wonderful. That's fantastic. And with any roles that you've taken in the past and you currently do you have you walked into the roles having an idea, or do you have an idea for what the role or the show that you're working on is about, or is it just like a jack in the box where you have no idea what to expect?
um, so pretty much when you are hired, you know what role you're hired for,
Hmm.
and you pretty much know what you're supposed to do, but nothing is set in stone because anything can change.
Mm.
Uh, pitch, you know, you can have a little girl and they go, you know what, we need her to sound a little bit younger. Can you pitch her up a little bit and make her younger? Or, you know what, that's too young. Can you maybe make her sound a little bit? We kind of like a later teen sound. You know what, we need her in her 20s. And you have to be able to adjust.
Mm.
And then um, when you're hired, you're also SAG allows for up to 3 characters. So you can go in knowing your main characters you're going to record, but then be asked to do 2 more under the contract. If they get you for a 4th or more, they get to pay you more. But for
Mm.
3, they don't. So that's why sometimes you'll see that has many voices because you have your main character, but then you might get to do some other character, the opportunity to do other characters as well. So you need to be really versatile because you might have, the little girl that you're doing, but then you got to do the little boy's picking on her. And maybe a voice for the mom who has to yell at the boy, you know?
That's definitely true. That's great. That actually reminds me of a funny story with when John Mulaney was cast as Spider Ham in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I know that the Annie Awards this year had made a huge deal out of, and of course, like Into the Spider-Verse won a huge amount of awards for the Annie Awards this year. But he
Okay,
spoke
I
about.
have to clarify. The Annie Awards didn't make a huge deal. They don't pick any shows or any studios that they make a big deal of. It's very, very neutral.
Mhm.
But I have to say that the Spider Verse swept the Annies.
Mm.
There was one category it didn't win in, and what did win, which I can't remember at this moment, was amazing. It
Mm.
deserved to win. It was like graphic design or something. But they swept the categories from a judging perspective. It has nothing to do with Asifa Hollywood making a big deal about anybody. They just won and well deserved. It was a great, great movie.
Absolutely, and absolutely no surprise in that sense of how much it just won in a lot of those categories there. But going back
Yep.
to my story with John Mulaney, where he spoke about how he got the role of Spider Ham in the film, in that he had no idea about the project in at all going into it, and the way it happened was it was on an interview with Jimmy Kimmel where he said that he got a call from I think it was from the director who said to him, "Look, we want you to be part of this project, but we can't tell you what it is, and we can't send you a script." And the way he thought about it was like, "This is how a lot of kidnappings happen." Like, but I was available, so yeah, yeah. Let's just drive off to an unmarked building somewhere. That's fine. Unmarked van, yeah. Blindfolded, yeah. Let's do that. And
Oh, I want to be John Mulaney. I want to be in a situation where the director, which has happened once or twice, but where the director calls and says, "We want you for this project. Just show up at the studio."
yeah,
That doesn't really happen to the hard-working voice actors. It
really.
really, I mean, the best of us that are not on camera famous.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I was doing the quotation, the finger quotes, air quotes, and I was doing that. um, the best of us still audition.
Mm.
My contemporaries and the people that are on all these series that are really, really amazing voice talent, they still have to audition, or they might get called in, but they know what they're reading for. It's the celebrities that they're just hiring, that they just want the celebrity in the show. They want that person's voice and that person's perspective, and they're like, just show up, we want you.
Hmm. Right. So
Yeah,
go.
that doesn't happen usually for the rest of us, average folk.
But that's great though, and maybe it may happen one day. Who knows? But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, let's shoot for that.
absolutely. Now, going across into your voiceover roles, what was your Do you remember what your first voiceover role was?
I remember my first voiceover role, my first real job. I guess you can say they were both real. My very first time I was hired was to voice replace somebody on the little engine that could. Um, so I went in and I was the bratty sister. So that was like my first professional voice gig. But the first pilot I booked um, was at Hanna-Barbera, and that was for Monster in My Pocket. And I worked with an amazing group of people. And I'll never forget because the day I booked that, like I guess they called me on a Friday, and that night my husband proposed to me, and my manager, I got signed by a manager. And so by the following Tuesday, that's when like reality hit, and I'm sitting there in Hanna Barbera with all these like amazing people, and I'm like working, and I finally leaned over to Mitzi McCall, and it was April Winchell. She was sitting next to me
Wow.
in the booth, and I said, "I don't feel my feet. I am so floating right now." It was like woo.
Wow. And what was it like being part of doing those roles, especially when you were like working in Hanna-Barbera, like especially with working with such huge talent like that. That must have been like wow.
Well, yes, that experience I'll never forget. It really was an out of body experience, I think, and a lot of fun. And it was such a great show. And I'm so sorry. I've done so many pilots. I mean, I did another pilot with Mark Hamill. And, sitting next to him, he was like the old truck, and I was a little sidekick, truck. And, you know, Rock City Road Crew, and there were all these little Tonka trucks. And that didn't go either. But I've sat in the room with some pretty, I mean, on Biker Mice from Mars, Ian Ziering is one of the main characters. But Luke Perry, I sat next to. He was on a couple episodes, and that guy was so talented and the sweetest man. I mean, I've got to work with some pretty awesome people, and you just have to focus on what your job is. The hardest thing is when they're so freaking funny. And you can't laugh because they're all mic. You have to wait till they cut, and then you just grab your sides. Uh,
I can imagine that. I mean, especially like having to watch like watching Mark Hamill just unleash his magic in the voiceover room. Like I can imagine what that must be like, and with any of the actors that you worked with, that must have been like not just like an inspirational experience for anybody really. So yeah.
my favorite are like Jess Harnell and Rob Paulson. Shoot, man, you get the two of them in the room. Oh, and Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny's on his own, amazing. But working with I mean, my ribs hurt. I'd be laughing, so I'd come home from the sessions just sore. I mean, seriously, and they're so freaking talented. They're just just what they do is just, it's wonderful. I mean, I've been very lucky working with some of the people I've gotten to work with. I should explain something. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if I hope I'm not jumping any of
No,
your questions.
no. Please go right ahead.
Do you know what the difference is between anime and Western animation?
I'd say for a fact that I know that West animation, like, I would imagine that the scripts would be a little bit like you have a little bit more leanway in terms of being able to improvise or ad lib on the spot. Whereas with anime, on the other hand, you're kind of a little bit strict in terms of the scripts that you're written because you're actually, as you said before, it's audio dialogue replacement in anime. But in West animation, I'd imagine you have a little bit more like a little bit more leeway to improvise and just ad lib on the spot. So is that kind of the main difference there?
Yeah, that is a really good difference. Yes, absolutely. The One of the biggest things as a voice actor is that in anime you are solo. You're by yourself in the booth,
Mm-hmm.
and your brain has to work really hard. You're recording to beats and to picture. So you see the Japanese animation up there,
Mm-hmm.
and then the engineer sets it up where you hear beep, 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 and where the fourth beep is supposed to be is when you're supposed to start speaking.
That's
But you
right.
don't get to see the scripts ahead of time. So you're sight reading, and it could be like a sentence, or it could be a paragraph, and you're sight reading it at the same time that you're trying to match the lip flaps of the character
Mm.
that you're watching on the screen. And sometimes there's just too many syllables and it doesn't work, so they have to edit the words, or you have to. It's really a learned skill. It's a definite skill set because your all your senses are working at the same time. Well, not touch and smell, but your sight and hearing, your reading, your talking, everything is happening at once, and you're matching it to picture. So it's just you in the booth, and then you've got your engineer and a director.
Mm.
That you do line by line by line, and you don't know what's going on. You're only doing your lines, and they have you for 2 hours, and you do as many scripts in 2 hours as you can. But you don't know what's going on. The director kind of says, "Okay, what was happening up to this point is you were caught in a battle, and your friend has been captured, and then you say this line." And you're like, okay. So that's kind of how anime is done. And the acting is like, you have to remember to do on top of everything you have to physically do.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so that's how anime works. And then with Western animation, which is first generation, I mean, you're laying down the voice tracks first. A lot of times, that is done in a recording session with a full cast.
Mm.
So it's like table read, and you can sometimes if the flow is working and everyone's just saying their lines and it's great, and then they come back and they'll cut at a point. You'll go back and pick up a couple of lines, or you'll do a run through all the way through. There's all these different ways that they do it, but you're feeding off all the other actors and actresses, and it's a really amazing. And yes, the director will then say, I mean, my favorite way of explaining it is, okay, you have to fall off a cliff or fall down the stairs. And in this case, it is a spiral staircase, and you're going to be bouncing off the wall. You have to hit 3 walls as you're going down, and then you hit a puddle of water at the bottom. Okay, go. You're like, wow! You know, you gotta figure out how you're gonna do all that craziness.
But yeah, I definitely can. I just actually, yeah, I just remembered that actually, and like, I can imagine for like, even though like both anime and Western animation, in terms of the way they're done, is vastly different from each other, but
Oh,
they are vastly different from each other. And what would you say has been like your own favorite to work on personally? Whether was it is it anime or is it Western animation? Which do you find to be like the most to be considered your favorite personally?
oh, Western animation. Oh, I mean, they're both they both have their challenges. Um, to be honest, they both have their challenges and their rewards. But the group sessions are they're just so much. I mean, if you act and you want to be in, and you've done plays or you've done ensemble TV where everyone's working at once, it's more of a play though.
Mm.
It's more that. Um, but anime, is you're in and out. It's quicker. You get your lines and you're done. You know,
That's
but yeah,
that's
definitely,
fantastic.
they're completely different. Although some Western animation, to be honest, some is recorded. I just did one a couple 2 months ago, I think, or whatever it was, for a new show coming out that I did record solo. Even
Right.
because sometimes they have celebrities or they just can't get everyone in the booth, so they just record each actor by themselves.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. And that's I never would have expected like some Western animation just to record solo like that, because as you said
Yeah,
before, for the most part, it's done within a group setting. So yeah. Who,
more
let,
and where they're going. Well, it depends on the cast
mm,
uh, and the show. When you've got actors that are on camera actors, sometimes their schedules don't fit.
mm-hmm.
Or you get sometimes there's voice actors too who are just so prolific at this point. They're working on everything. They just can't always make group sessions. But it's mostly the on camera that or the studio that dictates how they're going to do it.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Now going across into some of the roles that you've into a few of the roles that you've done, one of the anime that I've seen in the past, which was my introduction to your work, was Rurouni Kenshin, where you played Ayame.
Hmm.
Yep. And what was it like working on the series?
I don't remember.
That's
I'm sorry. It was so long ago. And it was at the same time I was doing Bleach and towards the tail end of Digimon.
hmm
And it was just, I remember doing Ayame. She was more real, more, the young girl, but, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I remember more Bleach. It was longer lasting. See, with Rurouni Kenshin or Naruto, I might have been on several episodes. I mean, like I could be on 3 to 5 episodes, and I could have done that in a 2-hour period,
Right. That,
which was like one day, or I might have gone in twice or 3 times, which is usually what it is, and knocked out a season because it's only your line,
Hmm.
and going in, 3 times, so many years ago, I don't remember it.
No,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. But going straight into another question related to this is that I'm not sure if you've known this, but they have done like a lot of live action adaptations for Rurouni Kenshin as well as other series that you've worked on. Another example being Bleach. They've just recently did a action film on the anime. Have you ever seen any live action adaptations of anime yourself? And what has been your opinion on anime being adapted for live action.
I didn't know any of this. So no, I've not seen it. I mean, I would love to play Yashiru. I'm not that tall, but I mean, the only live action I can think of that's close to anime was Power Rangers. To me, that's kind of the similarity. But anime can be so bloody violent. God, there's some sessions I still have nightmares from. I actually walked out of one. They asked me, I just finished a session. They said, "Oh, could you record another one for us?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it was a bunch of women and children. They wanted me to voice all of them in a prison about to be mowed down with gunfire.
Right. Wow.
And, like nowhere to go. And the guards came in and they were just going to shoot them all. And they wanted me to do all their screams. And I went, "No, I can't." And I was pregnant. I'm like, "I can't do that. I just can't. I'm sorry. You'll have to get somebody else."
Wow.
It was pretty awful. And so I when you say they're making live action of anime, I worry.
There have been some live action adaptations out there. I know for a fact the one everyone always remembers the most is, of course, with Dragon Ball Evolution, which was the live action adaptation of Dragon Ball Z. And a lot of people did not enjoy that one. They really didn't.
Yeah, it didn't get very good ratings.
No. So I think it can be adapted very well for live action. It's just a matter of how they just have to be a little bit careful with that sometimes because especially there are a lot of hardcore anime fans that are so into the anime. If you're gonna do live action, you gotta make sure you gotta nail it. So yeah.
Yeah, some things should be left where they are.
Mm.
You know, you know, like some books are better read than adapted because how you interpreted it is not the same way as the director did.
Mm.
And anime is so stylistically what it is. I don't, unless you're doing CG or mocap actors, it just won't carry.
Mm. Well, then again, I have heard stories going about of them doing a live action version of the anime film Akira, which and they're looking at going after one director named Taika Waititi, who's a New Zealand director who did Thor Ragnarok, who did What We Do in the Shadows, Boy, and Hunt for the Wilder People, who did a fantastic job with all those movies. And he said that if he got the role to be the director, he would keep it very close to the books as much as possible, and he would cast mostly Asian actors for the roles. So
Wow.
so fingers crossed that he gets that role and they get the live action adaptation up and running. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much that can be done these days with the magic of cinema and computers and graphics. That there's a better playing field to create.
Absolutely.
So I wish him luck. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely. Fingers crossed it's going to happen. Now, going straight into Bleach, you're best known for playing Yachiro not just across the series, but in the films and in the video games. What was it like playing that character and stepping into the world of Bleach?
Well, I love Yashiru Kasakashi. She's great. But honestly, again, I only saw my lines. I only saw whatever scripts they put in front. I mean, I walk in and there's a binder. There's at least 3 binders in the room that are like the 5-inch binders, the really, really big ones. And they're, season 1, season 2, season 3. And the director will say, "Okay, go to season 1 and go to episode 23." And so you flip to episode 23, and they go, "Okay, go to page 2." And you go to page 2. And they go, okay, and then you start with your line, and then you go to page 8, and then you do your line, then you go to page whatever, and you just do your line. And you do it to picture, and you do this for 2 hours, and or however long, how many scripts they have for you. And I could be doing season 1, season 2, and season 3, not quite all 3 seasons, if you can imagine, in 1 or 2 sessions. So there is no, honestly, I'm so sorry to burst any bubbles out there. I really, really apologize. I do love the character, and I did love watching my scenes with Kenny and Cue Ball and everybody, but a lot of the meteor stuff with the main characters, I never saw because I wasn't in them.
Right.
And then to find Bleach at the time on TV was really hard. It wasn't like cable is now, so I didn't get to really watch a lot of it. And then they called me up and said, okay, we need you to come in for another session for Bleach. And then you walk in, they're like, okay, this one's the video game. Okay, this one's the movie. It was like no different. and they honestly don't have a lot of respect for the actors. We're just furniture to them, vehicles to, fill in. They weren't mean. Everybody was very nice. I love the people I work with. I know my directors. I mean, those are, people here. Viz Media, I think I saw somebody once at the video game. But yeah, it's really just all remote, and we're not a part of it. We're not really invited into the world at all.
Wow. So with going, no, that's fine. Now that's okay. But it sounds to me like with
No, it's not. It sucks. I can hear it in your voice. Stop crying, Simon. I'm sorry. What can I do to make it up to you?
No, but what I remember about with Bleach was that it was a really fantastic series. I mean, all the characters, the storylines were all great. And which gets into my next question here. With any series that you've worked on, especially with a lot of long-running ones, like Bleach, for example, was there ever a point where you didn't like where your character was going in terms of the way, like, the scripts were written or just a certain storyline was going?
Um, it's really hard to tell. I mean, I literally was going line by line. If I saw my character was going to get killed, I didn't like that so much. I do know on Mon Colle Knights, that one was a little different. That was 52 episodes, and it was, even though it was anime, it was done more like TV series style, so that we came in and we did each episode because I was a main character. So and there weren't as many characters. I was the goofiest villain. I was a villain sidekick, and I absolutely loved how they wrote her. She was so naive and innocent in that she was bad. And whenever they start to blow up, or like at the end, I'd always push the wrong button and we'd blow up or whatever. And the director and I had a running joke that if it was an even episode, I'd scream with the other actors, the other characters. And if it was an odd episode, I would giggle. Like everyone else is like, ah, and I'm like, wee! Like it was just so irreverent. And she was just like, oh, did you ever notice that my nails are the same color as this jail cell? Just silly. So it was just, I mean, that one I knew the direction a little bit because I was in for a full episode. In 2 hours we did an episode, so 52. And she was so much fun. That I'd love to see brought back. And even if it were made into live action, it would be really funny. It was such, the characters in it, you had your good characters. the villains were just the goofy, like, we have to get to the magic stones before they do. We have to capture, rule the universe. And my character's like, well, which way we're going to go first? Not realizing that we're, stealing from the planet, or from the good guys who are trying to save the planet.
Right.
And,
Fantastic.
so,
Well, fingers crossed that's definitely going to get a live action adaptation. As you said, definitely. So now going across into
How about this for live action? Here you go. So my very first Comic Con I went to, actually I can't say my first, my second one in more recent years. My first one I was on the panel for Biker Mice from Mars. That was years ago. But the one I went most recently, I went with my daughter, and she's like, "We have to dress up, Mom. We have to dress up." And I'm like, "Oh God, it's 2 weeks. What do I do?" So I decided, well, I'll do my favorite anime. It's animation convention. So I decided to dress up as Gluko. And I'm not kidding. I got the little blue out. I had everything. I made, and I was as close to an anime character as a white Caucasian chick can be. I mean, honestly, I had the purplish blue hair. I had the outfit. The whole 9.5 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knew who I was. But I bumped into my old friend who played the villain, and he's like, "Oh my God!" So we saw each other. And Joe Achman, and so he was cracking up. But I literally went into booths at the convention center that had all these anime cartoons and manga, and I'm like, "Do you know who I am?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Have you ever heard of Mon Colle Knights?" "No." "Are you kidding me?" It was crazy. And then and the next day, I dressed up as Elvira because I used to impersonate her for singing telegrams. I don't even tell you that, but so I have the costume, and I get out of the car and I wear flats because it's San Diego Convention Center, and there's no way I can wear heels anymore. My feet's dying, and I get out of the car, and my daughter gets out, and this woman is walking by, pulling her grocery cart, the little cart with the wheels.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
older, curmudgeon-y lady, and she's walking past, and she looks at us, and she goes, "You're too short to be Elvira."
Oh.
Like, oh my God. And I had my Mike Wazowski moment. I was like, "Oh, she knows who I am."
Fantastic.
Like, I'm not even out of the parking lot, and they know who I am today.
Fantastic.
So, anyway, what was your
question? So going across into the other roles you've done, you've played in not just in shows but in both anime and Western animation, but you've also played across in video games as well. What would you consider to be your favorite role to play personally, whether it was anime or Western animation or video games?
Ooh. Well, God, there's so many. No, I'm kidding. It's only 3. No, I'm kidding. Gosh, I do love Gluko. She was always a lot of fun. I love Carbine, which is Western animation. Oh my gosh. I did love my car from Rock City Road Crew that never made it. Oh, there was one that didn't make it. Itty Bitty Heartbeats, Cool Heart. That's another pilot that, I wish it had gone. But if I may change it just to tweak it a bit.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite moments of voiceover work, where all my worlds collided at once, was on the live action TV show Good Morning Miami.
Wow.
I don't know if you ever saw it in Australia, but it was a kind of semi-popular. It's kind of like Dharma and Greg. Same creators as Dharma and Greg. They did Good Morning Miami.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I ever saw that in Australia. I'm pretty sure it must be out there somewhere, but that's fantastic.
So I was cast in this on-camera role playing a voice actress because the main character was being punished because he put down cartoons or something, so now he had to work on a cartoon episode. And Billy West and I were hired as the voice actors working with him on this cartoon. So here I'm on a TV show doing voice acting, and I was 6 months pregnant. So I'm like, and they hid my stomach behind the music stand, so you didn't know. But it's like my real world, my TV world, and my voiceover world were all, downstage at CBS next to John Cleese. He was in the dressing room next to me.
Wow.
Crazy, all at once. So that was one of my favorite moments, doing voiceover work, on camera work, and the mom.
Fantastic.
So we're cooking. I don't know.
Fantastic. That was almost just kind of like almost like 2 or 3 levels of Inception right there in that last role that you were just describing about. I'm the voice actress voicing a voice actress, pretending to be playing a character voiced by this voice actress.
Yeah, yeah. It was the funny thing was, sitting in makeup and hair, and they're all tittering, and talking, and everything. And finally, one of the women, because I can see them in the mirrors, just kind of giving me these like sideways glances. And finally, one of them literally gets the balls enough to say, "So is that real, or did wardrobe stuff you? Because why would they do that for a voiceover person?"
Wow.
And I'm like, you're right. That would be weird to play a voice actor and have me stuffed pregnant. So how about I really am? It's real.
Wow.
Yeah. They were like, they didn't know, and they're seriously trying to figure it out.
That's crazy. I'm pretty sure that probably by the end of that session they must have figured it. They probably would have figured it out by then.
Well, I wasn't quite waddling, but yeah, they weren't. They were, and I'm not a very big person, so they weren't quite sure. But anyway.
Fantastic though. Now going into the next one here, I just want to say a huge congratulations on the 46th year of the Annie Awards, as well as you being the live announcer for the Annie Awards. That is
Mhm.
is huge. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
how did you get the position of the announcer for the Annie Awards?
Oh, so gosh, 15 years ago, um, I've been doing it. I've done my 14 years of the Annies. This next year will be my 15th. So more than 14 years ago, um, the director and producer of Biker Mice from Mars was a part of ASIFA Hollywood, and I was working for him because I was Carbine, and there were a couple other people at ASIFA. ASIFA is the Animation Society Federation, or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's for the Anniverse. That's what I forgot. So I knew a couple of the other people on the board, and I didn't know there was a board, but they knew who I was, and they decided that back then that they wanted to take the Annies in a new direction, and they thought they should have a live announcer. They had a host. It was Tom Kenny. But they thought they should have an announcer who, brings people out on stage. And they asked me to do it. It was one of the few times I didn't audition for it. I was asked to do it.
Hmm.
And I said yes.
Wow.
And I try to be as perfect as I can every year so that they ask me back the next year.
Fantastic. Now, I had the chance to see the this year's Annie Awards, which is now the 46th year for the Annie Awards, as far as I know, and it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the amount of people and cast that they had for the awards. They had, of course, they had Patrick Warburton, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Maurice LaMarche, Rob Paulson, Adriano Romano. It was just absolutely huge. How big?
Holly Hunter, John Ratzenberger. Oh gosh, who else was backstage? They had a lot of people.
They had a
The
lot of
heads
people.
of Disney, Pixar. It was pretty cool. It was the first time I've ever gone like I fangirled on Holly Hunter a little bit. But yeah, it was, yeah. Every year though, they have amazing amazing people that come out for it, and with the rise of animation, um, more and more celebrities. I mean, last year they had Angelina Jolie, I guess, came.
Wow.
Um, she hid out a little bit. I didn't get to see her, and I'm sitting right there, so how I missed her is kind of weird. I met Billy Crystal; he's been there. So it's kind of it's really it's a great show. It really is a great show. They do a really really wonderful job honoring all these talented people and up and comers. Students. They have a student award as well for
Mm.
students.
Fantastic. I've definitely have noticed that a lot during the screening that I saw, which for any fans out there that want to know, there'll be a link down below in the description for that. And I had the chance to see the live show myself, and like it was amazing, like the amount of people that have been part of these awards ceremonies. As you said, not just professionals, but a lot of up and coming, like a lot of up and like new people, a lot of up and comers. So it's just amazing,
Oh,
really. And also the
it's
and also the fact that they also dedicated it to like the soundtrack and the music for animation as well, which is just fantastic.
yeah.
So,
The writers, there's the writers, the producers, the directors, but then there's the voice talent, there's the music, there's the editing, there's the special effects editing. They have so many categories, and it's about the talent. It really is.
uh,
It's fun. It's a fun night. It's a fun show. If you happen to ever be in LA this year, think I I heard I think they announced it's January 25th, I think, this year. Usually it's like the first weekend in February, but next year, I should say, it's, I think in January. But
wow.
check it if you're ever in LA or you can be here for it. It's worth it. It's just a really down to earth, nice. Um, it's great. It's just great.
That's absolutely fantastic. And for anybody out there that will be listening to this later on, there'll be a link down below in the description for the Annie Awards website. You can find out more information about that, as well as to this year's live show as well. It is absolutely fantastic. So, yeah. Now, going into the next question, as an actress, what would you say has been the most challenging role for you to play, whether it was in anime, Western animation, or video games, or any role that you've done for that matter?
Well, yikes. There are a couple that have been really that are they're challenging in different ways. Some um, games can be vocally challenging because you do have to do a lot of screaming and efforts. And although pretending to get hit, you don't actually get hurt, but it takes you get sore because you're still physically like sucking in your stomach or twisting your head, to make the sound. So that can be physically exhausting or vocally exhausting or challenging. And then to do it as a kid or a boy or a girl or a mom, then you have to have the character voice on top of it.
Mm.
But the one I found really challenging and really wonderful was It's a Small World for Disney Interactive.
Wow.
That was they really you every character was from a different part of the world, and I had Harold from the Netherlands, from Denmark, and Ashley from Canada, and they wanted authentic accents,
Wow.
and those are not easy. There's really, unless they have a at the end, French Canadian, if you don't want it to sound French, is a very ubiquitous and undescriptive accent. It's a hard one. We had a dialogue coach on set or in the studio for every session, and the Denmark one, I actually called the Dutch embassy in Washington D.C. and told them that I was working on this cartoon and I needed to emulate this accent as a little boy, a little, this kid from Denmark. and it's been a while, so I don't remember it. It was not an easy one to do. And they laughed and they let me record them and have conversations so that I could hear how they spoke. And then in the session, it was a group session. So I had my two characters. The girl next to me had China and Africa. The guy next to her had, I don't even remember what his two were. And the girl next to them, she was from Ireland. And she had to have a
Wow.
Scottish accent. And so here you have these accents that are not yours by nature. And you're talking in a session with everyone else that has their own accent. And as you know, when you talk to people with accents, you start to adopt their sound. And so you had to not do that. Between your own two, let alone everyone else talking, you had to make sure that you stayed in your own lane. And the dialogue coach was always there to make sure that everything sounded really authentic. So that was challenging, to say the least. And oh my gosh, the animation! If you ever get a chance to find, It's a Small World.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they put it. Disney Interactive shut down, but it's beautifully done. They stayed in the vein of Mary. I want to say Pickford. Oh God, you guys, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, it just escaped my mind again. It's just going down memory lane is just killing me. The woman, she basically it looks like the Disney ride. It's a Small World, and the animation is gorgeous.
Fantastic.
It's just, and they're very sweet. They're very kid friendly, of course. Very sweet show.
Fantastic. I'm sure it probably must be up there somewhere, like possibly on YouTube or something like that, because they tend to put up videos of like people riding on the rides, and somehow they end up getting onto YouTube somehow. So it's always a it might be there. So yeah. So that's fantastic though. And so now continuing on with this what's like one character or series that you've ever wanted to play or ever wished that you played yourself?
Oh, I always wished I was on Teen Titans Go. That just looks like so much fun. I mean, I always loved Animaniacs, but I can't sing like Tress McNeil. She's amazing. And if I always, my son thinks this is terrible, but I really would have loved to have played the mom in Tangled, the witch.
Yeah, Mother Gothel, that's right, yeah.
Yes. She was so evil and just so emotionally and psychologically brutal. It would have been fun.
That would have been fantastic. That would have been fantastic. And of course, they're
Yeah.
still doing I think they're still doing the Tangled series at this point. I think they're doing season 3 right. I think they're about to start production on season 3 right now. So, and the actress that played Mother Gothel in the movies as well as in the TV shows, I can't remember her name, but yeah, she did a fantastic job with that. And I think that would have been amazing to see your version of the character brought to life in the film. So,
Yeah, right. I would too. It would be. It would have been a lot of fun. I don't. My kids wouldn't have seen me that evil though. Too bad. No. No. Yes, yes, yes.
Now, that's fantastic. Now, now, out of all the roles that you've done across your entire career, what would you say has been the one role that resonates with you the most, and you feel like you could relate to as a person?
Right now it's Gluco, a little dingy. Just can't seem to remember what I need to know. She was very fun. Ooh, a lot of them were kids or animals. Um, so that makes it a little harder. Yeah, Lady the Lamb really resonates with me for bad reasons. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yeah.
I don't I don't think I've ever gotten to play me with anything. So, um, I mean, Carbine, I like having that tough girl because that's the side of me. Gluco is definitely the fun, goofy side of me. Lainey, the lamb, with the mom side, just nurturing and want to take care of you. Um, I don't know. There's not many I don't like. If you're playing them, you want to love them. They're a
That's
part of you.
that's true. That's definitely true. That's great though. Now now going back onto with a question now going to a question that's kind of is related a little bit with the Annie Awards, especially with the animation industry in general. Where do you feel the industry stands in the whole of the entertainment industry?
Well, I think it's come a long way, baby. Uh, Before the Little Mermaid, there was that just it was dying, and then the Little Mermaid um, just did a whole resurgence for animation and brought it back. So much so that now they're doing live action remakes of animation. I mean, like, who would have thought that they were going to do like a CG live Lion King or Mowgli or I mean, Beauty and the Beast based on the animation. I think animation is doing amazingly well. Knock wood. And Spider Verse, I think, has taken it in a different level, or a different. I don't want to say level. It's all amazing stuff. A different direction.
Hmm.
Um, I loved, The Incredibles. I think were good. I mean, a lot I don't get to see that I'd like to. Um, but I love animation. I've loved it, since I was a little kid. Saturday morning cartoons were like Pop Tarts, and Saturday morning cartoons were the life, man.
That's fantastic. And I definitely agree with that. They've definitely come a very long way in terms of like like the animation industry has come such a long way in especially where it stands in the whole of the entertainment industry. It's come pretty far, and to see the Annie Awards celebrate such achievement like such achievements in animation, which is something you hardly ever see. Like you see in like a lot of different awards ceremonies, but only just a touch though. The rest of it is mostly dedicated to as we all know, like live action sort of work. So it's
Yeah,
really great to see like the Annie Awards like dedicated to just fully animation, as well as like other people out there supporting the animation industry, like with podcasts like what I'm doing right now, and the fans, of course,
yeah,
turning up to conventions, and of course the voice actors and the people that work on it just help bring it to life. It's incredible.
it is. I remember. I remember being in college and coming home on a weekend or during spring or winter break or whatever it was, and bribing my little brother. I'd give him money and say, "Go ride your bike, to the local grocery store and get Pop Tarts," And he would go ride his bike, and he'd come back, and we'd sit in front of, you know, the three channels that we had or whatever it was, and watch all the Saturday morning cartoons. And we'd eat our Pop Tarts, and my dad came downstairs and he would yell at me, "I can't believe I'd send you to college only for you to come home and watch cartoons." My dad's a great guy. But he's like, "Seriously, what is this?" And it was great because a couple years later, not even that long, I said, "Yeah, Dad, I remember I came home and I was hanging with my little brother who's now older, and we were watching cartoons." And he goes, "What is this? You graduate college and you're still watching cartoons?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, but now I'm getting paid to do them." I was like, "Oh yeah." Mic drop.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm watching a cartoon that I voiced on personally myself, so that's fantastic. That's just great. Now another question that's kind of following on from that. If you could change one thing about the entertainment industry, what would that be?
Ooh. Oh, I know. If I swear, oh, I sat in these meetings. If I had a crystal ball and I was back at the SAG meetings, the Screen Actors Guild, and they were talking about these new media contracts. Like, what do we do with these, with HBO? Like, what is this? What do we do with these contracts? And they're like, oh, it's probably going to be like anime. It's not a big contract. It's not going anywhere. There's no money there. I wish I had a crystal ball in those meetings that said, cut to 10, 15, 20 years from now. Regulate this. Definitely, this is going places. You need to do this. You need to make it union and you need to charge them because this is going to be big money. This is the future. But that didn't happen.
Right.
And so these, what we quote unquote call the new media contracts, are really not very financially supportive to the actor. You don't make a lot of money, and they renegotiated it that we have to be very careful because you don't make any money, and they can abuse you, get you for as many voices as they want, for as many hours as they got rid of, they just negotiated it so badly. So I wish the entertainment industry as a whole recognized that we're just, as an actor, as a voice actor, as a voice actor, we're not considered as important as on camera, because on camera is irreplaceable. I mean, you can, Lori Loughlin, replace them, but a voice actor, everyone thinks they're just, irreplaceable. Put another CD in, change the disc out, whatever. I wish that they realized how much talent and skill and studying and effort that we put into this to make it good for them so they can sell it, and compensate us accordingly.
I definitely agree on that in that sense. And that actually reminds me a lot of when I used to go to comic conventions myself, and I still do every now and then, in that, like, some people like ask me, "Oh, why do you go to comic conventions?" Mainly the main reason I go is to meet the voice actors. It's like,
Yeah.
I just go like, these guys, they're my rock star. These guys are my rock stars right here. Yeah, I know Manu Bennett's over there, and I know Robin Lord Taylor's over there, and I know Christopher Lloyd is up there. As much as I would love to meet these guys are the real rock stars right here.
Aww. I can't agree more. I work with these rock stars. They really are amazing. They're so talented.
I I absolutely
Yes,
I
I
absolutely
agree.
I absolutely agree on that as well. And so what now, going on to another question here, is what are two series that you've worked on personally would you want to see a potential crossover?
Uh, um, when you say a crossover, do they have to go together?
Yeah, I think maybe just like a one-off sort of story in that sense, or maybe even just like like a just a small episode where they just have two like characters, or like two shows together where the characters just cross over for just a little one-off episode. Because I've seen some crossovers happening like that before. Like I think it was I'm just trying to remember. I think it must have been Detective Conan and uh, Blackjack. I think they did a crossover at one point, or it must have been like I've seen a lot of anime do some crossovers together, but in that sense, is just like story wise as well as character wise. So yeah.
Oh. Um, I guess, I mean, that's the problem is I've done so many different things over so many different genres. I mean, you can't, you can't like cross Uncle Grandpa with with Bleach. They're just different. They're just stylistically. I mean, even Mon Colle Knights and Bleach, or Mon Colle Knights and Biker Mice from Mars would be hilariously, but they're drawn so different. Um,
Mm.
I guess Bleach and Rurouni Kenshin
Mm.
would be interesting because they're in the same kind of genre. That would be very, very interesting. Um,
That would be really great to see actually, and even with like some of the other series that you mentioned, like Biker Mice from Mars, Mon Kelly Knights, and Uncle Grandpa. Not like crossing over with like an anime and a Western animation, if they were done in the same sort of style, that would be really fun to see.
Oh, could you imagine like Mon? Well, you haven't seen Mon Colle Knights, I guess, but yeah, it would have to be Mon Colle Knights and like Annoying Orange, or Annoying Orange and Uncle Grandpa would just be like so wrong and funny.
I I,
Because
th-
those would be like, getting my belly bag. Go on, Apple. Go on. You want to get in there, don't you? Shut up, Apple.
that would be really fun to see though. And for all the people out there that'll be listening later on, here's what are two series that Dina Sherman has worked on? Would you want to see a potential crossover? Just be sure to comment below if you guys have any answers for that. Just comment below. Now, without getting into any spoilers, what's next for Dina Sherman for the fans to know about?
Um, well, let's see. Mr. Pickles is doing a spin-off show, and I'm on the first episode of that. But they haven't given it a title yet. The Sheriff is what the working title was. Oh, I did I produced with some friends an animated series called Between Busts. It's on YouTube, and it's marble statues. Busts,
Yeah, yeah.
not women's physical attributes. The marble statues.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, that's right.
I don't know what you were thinking, but
No, I was definitely thinking bus. I was just thinking back to I was just thinking about the Shazam movie with the statues of the seven deadly sins. So,
oh, no, we're not those. It's busts of famous women from history having modern day conversations.
yep,
And we have 3 episodes up now, and hopefully sometime this year we'll have another 3 episodes up. So that's they're really cute. They're really short, and they're fun, and they're quick, and they're contemporary, current, I should say. So those are really fun. And I'm dipping my finger into the producing side of things. So I have a
wow,
cartoon I'm starting to pitch for preschool, and I've never done that. So I'm looking at that and just auditioning like crazy for everything out there, which I can't really talk about because they're just auditions, and some of them I have to sign NDAs for. But hopefully one of those will hit, and then I'll have that.
fantastic. And final question: what do you think Yachiro would say if she was in Australia?
Hey, Kenny, tell Cue Ball to put another shrimp on the bobby.
I can definitely imagine her saying that. That's fantastic. Oh,
Mate.
that's
Hey,
just
mate.
that's just fantastic. Dina Sherman, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Oh, Simon, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime at all. And is there anything you'd like to say to the fans out there in Australia and in the world?
Keep loving up on those animation, on the cartoons. I mean, and have fun in life. If you're not having a good day, go watch some funny cartoon. Laugh. Find something to laugh at, because life ain't always pretty, but cartoons are just what they are. They're fabulous.
They absolutely are. They certainly are. They really, really are indeed. And that's fantastic advice right there. Now, and so guys, if you'd like to find out more about Dina Sherman, you can check out the links which will be down below in the description, as well as links for the Annie Awards, as well as the 2019 Annie 46th year for the Annie Awards this year. And don't forget to subscribe down below to HannaTalk, as well as my other channels. And if you guys have any requests for any suggestions at all, just comment below. Thank you so much. This is Simon and Dina Sherman signing off. Bye for now.
Bye.